Nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We are here for another weekly installment of The Walking Dead. I am very sorry that this is a bit later than I intended it to be, but life is a bitch and we'll catch you off with busy days. That's just how it goes. But nevertheless, I was very excited to settle in to review this week's episode as it was setting up kind of a clearer idea of what's to come going forward. This is episode 20 of season 11, that is ridiculous to say, titled What's Been Lost. And this week is certainly more focused on Carol and Daryl, as they're obviously trying to figure out where all their people have been taken. This week follows on directly from the stinger that we got from last week with Rosita being kidnapped, and we catch up and find out that everybody pretty much has been taken this week. The only remnants that are around is Carol, Daryl, and Yumiko. So the intro for this week, as last week was Eugene and the week before was Daryl, we opened up with Carol going back through some of the larger moments of her time in The Walking Dead, which again was cool. These montages are nice little openers. Then we open on Carol stealing a load of food from the bakery, and Ezekiel catches her, but he just hopes, basically, or tries to convince her at least to stay, that it's not so bad around here. Carol says she can't, and a bit more conversation happens. And then Carol goes to turn around after talking to Zeke and expects a response from Ezekiel, only to find that he's gone. And then suddenly the assassins or whatever that work for Pamela bust in through another door and try to catch Carol. After the intro card, the Alexandra crew, we find out at least, are being hunted, and we catch up directly with Daryl, who is being pinned down by a pretty big boy and being choked out. Daryl's already killed one of them, and Carol walks in, punches the guy off of Daryl, and then the guy gets ripped in the neck basically, and Daryl just stabs them both, which was pretty cool. We then cut to Pamela's office where she's talking to presumably a board of chairmen or for the Commonwealth. They're quite prudish and quite self-absorbed little pricks, but basically blackmails Yumiko into prosecuting Eugene for his actions against the Commonwealth and Sebastian, and threatens to do something to her brother Tommy. Then Tommy suggests giving Pamela what she wants, basically, to Yumiko, to live another day. She hasn't been brought down through all of this, basically. The people still believe in Pamela after everything that's happened, so Tommy says that Yumiko is going to lose if she tries to challenge her. Then we find out that Connie wasn't taken just yet. She's actually followed the guy that tried to take her to the hospital. She's hiding in the room next door and plans to follow him to find out where all the survivors have been taken. But Yumiko says that, look, if they find you, they're going to fucking take you. So let me try and do it. Quickly cutting back again, we do this quite a bit throughout the episode. We catch up with Daryl and Carol, who have infiltrated the prison area after coming up with a plan to use Hornsby to locate where the survivors have gone. In the cell, however, is quite a graphic scene. Hornsby has been forced to cut off the arms of Zeb so that he can't do anything to him, but also he has had to mutilate that guy, one of his henchmen that was brought in at the end of last week's episode, obviously being used to feed Seb. He's had to mutilate the fuck out of that guy for food, and that's actually quite a fucked up moment. Daryl and Carol threaten Hornsby with death or otherwise, and he says, I can take you to where your friends are being held if you get him out of there. We then find out that Hornsby is tagged with a security sensor on his ankle, but if they try to remove it, they're going to need to cut off his foot, basically, because it, well, presumably is kind of strapped into him. Daryl and Carol make a break for it and get him out, but Daryl has to stay behind because security have caught up and he wants to give Carol enough time to get out of the city with Hornsby. After that, we find out that Pamela has found out that Hornsby got out and Seb's dead. She goes to the cell that they were both in and finds the remnants there of Seb, whose head has been caved in. A nice little reminiscent moment of Glenn. We get a very brief interaction with Eugene, who accepts his fate and is willing to go ahead with the prosecutions after Yumiko tries to, confront him and say, like, look, you can't do this, we need to figure a way out. Eugene says this is the only way, and then moving back to Carol and Hornsby, Hornsby admires Daryl's commitment to the team and the survivors, and really says that it would have been a better world if we'd had more people like that, etc. They get caught in a tunnel, and Carol and Hornsby make it out of there, but are almost captured by Commonwealth guards until Daryl appears out of nowhere and saves them and kills the guards. Then informs Yumiko at a public presentation where she is set to condemn Eugene that Connie was captured, and she wants Yumiko to give the reassurances to the Commonwealth that everything will be okay going forward. It's announced then over the radio that Dixon, Hornsby and Pelletier got away, which obviously unsettles and pisses Pamela off a little bit. Then Yumiko is forced to spout off some bullshit about upholding the sacred ideals of the old world off script. Then she decides to go off script completely and calls up her brother for public applause to keep him in the limelight with regards to people within the community, so that if he goes missing, people will start to question what the hell is going on. And she announces publicly that she'll be defending Eugene and calling Pamela's bluff. This was great and certainly cements a bit more time to try and find out where the survivors have gone, and kind of calls Pamela out on her own game, which was awesome. Then we catch up with Daryl and Carol, who have been taken to a location where the survivors should be, and Hornsby reveals that there was a train that carts different people back and forth as they try and make further outreach to other communities. Theirs was just a bit of an interesting one, as it was very much out of the way from where they were headed. The idea in the way this conversation plays out is it at least sets up that the CRM are in contact with the Commonwealth, and that might be where their supplies are coming from. I've pointed this out, I think, last week or the week before, and this is an interesting development. The fact that they've got a functioning train within the world of The Walking Dead is pretty cool, and the possibilities of where that train could head to are endless, but the assumption would be the CRM. Hornsby is then told to basically fuck off by Daryl and Carol and try and make it out on his own. He looks rather perturbed by this, and then goes to turn a gun, only for Carol to wind up killing him by shooting an arrow in his neck. Shit. Okay, we're just killing all of them slowly. We've killed Seb, now we've killed Hornsby. I am very excited to see what happens with Pamela now. But basically Carol and Daryl just drive off, leave him to die in a pool of his own blood. And the final shot of the episode is we see the survivors being driven away and drugged to keep them sedated and quiet. And the final shot is of Ezekiel underneath the hood in terror. Overall, if I gave this episode a ranking, I would probably give it maybe like a 7.5. It wasn't as strong as last week's, but it was still thoroughly enjoyable, if not a bit odd in certain editing choices and things that it did. But ultimately, I enjoyed it, and I think you'll have a good time with it as well. I think, again, at this point, if you haven't watched this one and you're choosing not to, and you've already watched everything before it, then you're really doing yourself a disservice just to wait until the final moments come out to see how it all ends. You need kind of all the setup and the progression and things like that. You need everything involved. So definitely check it out. It's not a bad episode. It's not amazing, but it's decent enough. That's kind of where I'm left feeling with this week. That's going to do it for this episode though, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below, let me know what you thought of this week's episode. Leave a like, because it does help things out quite a bit, and I've been informed recently by YouTube that is something I need to push, is likes and comments. But definitely subscribe, as I've got more content on the way. Until then though, everybody, take care.